Hi, everyone, and welcome to my Facebook Live today. Hope everyone is doing well. There are 4 questions that I believe are really essential to helping people show up better than ever in 2018. And before we really get started, I think the key thing here is to really define what show up actually means. So when I talk about showing up, I'm talking about how we as professionals present ourselves to the people we work with and the organizations we work with every single day. So in other words, it's how we show up energetically, enthusiastically, competently, with a desire to learn, and also a sense of humility, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know everything. We certainly may know a lot, but we don't know everything. And so that whole issue about showing up is about energy and how we present ourselves to other people. So these 4 questions really help us dig in to what our goals look like professionally for 2018. And while the focus here is certainly about professional goals, they can also be personal goals too. I mean, they can be personal development as well as professional development in this whole realm. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in and get started. So last week, as you recall, I spent some time talking a little bit about us identifying the why we do what we do. In other words, why is it important to us we do the work we do each and every day? Well, the why is essential. It is the foundation for what we're doing. But these 4 questions tie all back into that. And the first question is, what are your career goals, or what are your goals for 2018? Right? It is so important for us to have goals because they allow us an opportunity to reach for them, to aspire to them. It gives us drive and motivation. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard about SMART goals, right? So SMART being specific, measurable, achievable. The A is always kind of like iffy. Some people give different things for the A, but realistic and timely. Okay, so this isn't about identifying those 5 key components, but we have goals, and those goals need to be very clearly defined because without them, we don't have a path. All right. So, like for example, was working with a client, and they were like, "Well, I want to get promoted." Okay, well, who doesn't want to get promoted, right? It's an opportunity for us to advance. We get more responsibility, more compensation. But saying you want to get promoted isn't enough. It has to be more than that. So those goals need to be really, really specific, okay? But keeping them inside is, I just caught myself like covering the mic. That's never a good thing when you're doing a Facebook Live, right? So thanks, Jay. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're on today. I'll see you this weekend. That's awesome. Right. So for our goals, they have to be specific. All right. And then the next step is we have to share them. Okay. So in other words, when we share them with someone, it's actually our commitment to those goals and putting them out there so everyone becomes aware of them. All right. So whether we share them with a loved one, a friend, a coworker, a trusted colleague, or even our staff manager, okay, sharing those goals is an important step because putting them out in the air is an opportunity for you not only to commit to them, but also to see how well they're received, because in that we might get some feedback around the goal that might be particularly helpful. Hey, Tyra, I'm glad you joined. How are you? So it brings up this other point about staff manager support. So some companies end their performance management cycle at the end of the year, and they're going through a performance appraisal system right now. And some may do it a few months from now, but we know this whole goal setting process is pretty big. Pretty big is one thing. Meaningful is something else. right? So if we're talking about goals, they need to be meaningful. We want the organization to stand behind them as well as for all of us to stand behind them too. Those goals have to have some kind of value or meaning. So when I had staff directly reporting to me, we had a lot of conversations around goals and why they were important and how we were going to go about achieving them, right? Notice that I said we, because I believe that needs to be a partnership between the staff manager and the employee. So we talked about ways to go ahead and actually achieve them together in support of that. The second question to help you show up better than ever in 2018 is very simply, what are you doing well? Right? We all have strengths, and it is an opportunity for us to leverage them to the best of our abilities. Some people are really, really good at project management. Some people aren't. Some people are really, really good at staff management, and some people aren't, and some people shouldn't. But what are you good at? And being able to have that conversation with your organization and the people you work with about, look, these are my strengths. How can I better leverage them so I can add greater value and I can add greater impact in every single thing that I'm doing at work. Tyra, I love how you're doing double duty. That's great. Thanks for logging on. Hey, Brian, good to see you. Hi, Michael. Good to see you too. Thanks for joining. All right. So yeah, so what are we doing well, right? We've got to be able to really identify that, because that helps us show up in any kind of performance conversations we're having with our boss. We can use that in terms of really providing concrete evidence when it comes time to talk about promotional opportunities or advancement opportunities in our company. But it is that time where we kind of have to toot our own horn. We've got to sell ourselves. And for some people, that's difficult, right? Because some people don't want to come across being boastful or pompous, right? But we know there's a way to do that in a very unthreatening way, but also in a way that comes from a collective perspective about how we are adding value into our organization and our work and the people we're working with. So the third question is, what are your growth areas? So it's great if we identify and know what it is we're doing well, but we also have to know where we're going to stretch, because that shows growth. So let's say, for example, you are really, really good at a specific area of leading a team, say staff management in general. But there are parts of the organization that you have an interest in, right? Or maybe it's an opportunity for you to leverage what you know in staff management and see if some of that can be applied over to leading a project and getting to know the ins and outs of what solid project management looks like, at the same time while engaging a group of people to work on that project. Without identifying those stretch goals, there's no growth. You have to be able to know where it is you're going to grow, both personally and professionally, in your organization. There is a great book that I honestly call it my Bible in so many ways, because it is hands down one of the best books I've ever read. It's a book by Sherry Harley. It is called How to Say Anything to Anyone. And I remember reading this book on a flight across the country on a work trip. And what impressed me so much about it was that it was easy to read. It was layman's terms. It was funny and humorous. And it had some great things in it about making agreements with your staff manager, the places where you work, as well as the people on your team. And there's great sections there on giving and receiving feedback, which is something we're going to talk about in an upcoming Facebook Live event. But the whole thing here around knowing where it is you want to stretch is that opportunity for you to learn. I can't tell you how many times I've had people on my team come to me and say, I'd really like to learn about X, or I'd really like to learn about Y, or how do I get to know a little more about Z in another part of the organization? Those are all things. Sherry Harley says it best. We are 100% responsible for our careers. Right? Like at the end of the day, no one's going to be like, well, you should hire John because John does blah, 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 right? That might happen. But the truth of the matter is, if we're not championing our own cause, we're missing out. And in order to truly be able to do that, we have to know what we're really good at and what we suck at, okay? And what we want to be able to get better at so we can truly show up as our best professional selves and provide the value we want to do and we want to add to our organizations every single time we go into work. All right. The last thing is, what are you learning? Okay. So companies certainly provide training and opportunities for professional development, but we know over the years the professional dollars have gotten fewer and fewer, and so have the opportunities. There's also plenty of ways that we can engage ourselves in really owning what our own professional development looks like. And there's professional development, which is specifically related to the work we do in the workplace. And then there's our own little hobbies and interests we have outside of it. So, you know, if you're interested in basket weaving, and no offense to the basket weavers out there, but that may not be considered professional development if you don't work for a basket weaving company. However, if you want to learn or work towards, say, your PMP, your project management professional certification, or you want to learn more about leading a team of people, or you want to learn about a particular technical aspect of the job that you haven't been exposed to yet, that's your opportunity to step forward and go to your company to simply say, hey, I have an interest in learning this. How can we work together to kind of help me find some time to be able to grow in those areas? There's companies like Google, for example, where you know, they have passion projects or an opportunity to really kind of dig into something they're really passionate about. Some organizations call them passion projects. Those are all great opportunities to grow and professionally develop. But for those of us that have worked in smaller organizations or even in larger organizations, we have to champion that cause. We have to champion what our own professional development looks like. And there's a lot of free content that's out there. There's a lot of really solid content that's out there, but we have to take charge of that. We have to be our own advocates for our own professional development, because that is an awesome way for us to show that we're showing up in a different way, to take command in charge of our learning and to simply say, I'm willing to grow. How are you able to help me with that? Or I'm taking this initiative because this is going to help me with what I'm doing or what I hope to be doing down the road in my work. All right. So those 4 questions again are, what are your career goals in 2018? What are you doing well? What are you learning? And what are your growth areas? So